On this week's episode, I chat with my friend Kacey, who I met travelling the east coast of Australia. We talk a little bit about how she got scammed into applying for an Australian visa, how we met and weren't friends instantly, a little bit about photography and travelling, scary situations while travelling, and so much more. I hope you enjoy this week's episode.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Strangers No More. This week I'm joined with the lovely Kacey.
Hello.
And we kind of decided like literally 5 minutes ago to record this. So it's going to be a bit rough and ready. Kacey also only just found out what the podcast was about like 10 minutes ago. So she doesn't really know what she's in for. But
Just here, vibing.
we're just going to have a little conversation because this podcast is all about strangers and how we were once strangers and then became friends, and just kind of like how that journey came about and our friendship, I guess, since we met. So we should start with like what you're doing in Australia, and then we'll go into like how we met and stuff, and I have some questions to ask you too. So yeah, let's just start there.
All right. I'm basically in Australia. So I'm from the US.
Yeah.
And
If you couldn't tell by the accent.
if you couldn't tell by the accent, I'm actually from Canada. No, I'm kidding. But no, I'm from Wisconsin, which is basically Canada. Anyway, came to the US because I actually have a friend in Melbourne who she was 2 years younger than me. We went to college together. And then when COVID hit, she kind of decided to move over here because her mom's Australian, so she has dual citizenship.
Oh,
So
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that's why we were here.
Yeah, so she moved over here, and so one day, like randomly, like we were just texting, and I was like, "Miss you." She's like, "Miss you," and she's like, "Come to Australia," and I was like, "Okay, bet." And I booked my ticket, and
here
she was
you
like,
are.
"You're joking, right?" And I was like, "No, I have a flight. Like, can I stay with you?" kind of thing. So,
I love that.
so yeah, I just kind of hopped on a plane. Was planning on being here for three weeks. Then I was planning on going to New Zealand for 10 days and then going back home to do whatever the heck I was gonna do.
And that was
in February.
of 23.
That was this year.
2023.
2023. That was this year, February, and it is now November 2023, and I'm still here.
She's still here. We haven't gotten rid of you.
Yeah, basically, I got here and everyone was like, "You should get your working holiday visa." And so when I was in New Zealand, I applied for that. And then now I've been here since.
Oh. And is the working holiday visa process for you like similar to similar to Ireland, in that you just like apply and there's like no extra bits to it? Or is it a complicated process?
Yeah, it's super simple. I was sitting in a hostel in New Zealand and I had applied. I actually got scammed once. Outright. Paid $500 US, lost that money down the drain. And then I paid another $300 for the actual visa. But that's besides the point.
Okay, so let's just talk about that for a second. How did you get scammed on applying for a visa?
Because I'm dumb. I don't read. So basically I was like really confused about this whole working holiday visa thing because I hadn't heard anything about it. I just kind of came here, and so I was doing my research online, and I was like, oh, Australian visa, they give visas. And so then I applied this whole thing. It took me like 20 minutes. And at the end, it was like, you have to pay $500. And I was a little bit confused because I was like, I thought it was only $300, but I was like, whatever, maybe I read wrong. So then I paid the money and I waited a couple of days and I still didn't get anything or like a confirmation or anything. So I was like, something's a little off. Something's a little messed up here. So basically, then I went on the actual, like the government one, the .org. And I was like, okay, so this is the real one.
So what one did you apply to before that?
Like auvisa.org or something. And it said .org. So I was like, surely it's a reliable site. But no, because I never got a confirmation or anything back. And then the other visa, the one on the actual website, I applied for, and then I was about to close my laptop and I literally got an email that said your visa was accepted within 30 seconds.
Yeah,
me applying. And I was like, yeah.
But so for any listeners out there that are wanting to get an Australian visa, don't do what Kacey did.
Don't do the auvisa.org. Go to the actual site.
The only site you should be getting your visa from is the government website.
Yes.
And I think like actually a lot of people, because I see in a lot of like Facebook groups about people moving to Australia. They're like, where do I apply for the visa? Or like, should I just get someone to apply for the visa for me?
Yeah.
And like, you don't need to do that. Like, it's so simple.
It is, but it also doesn't pop up like right away. Like, I don't know why
Really?
I did it. I don't, yeah, like I think when you type in Australian visa, it's not the first thing that like pops up.
Oh.
Or maybe I was just blind. Or maybe I just like was confusing because maybe I clicked that link and it was like so much information because it was the government site that I didn't know.
Okay. But anyway, you're here now.
Whatever, I'm here now.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
Exactly.
And that $500 is gone. I don't remember it. Like, it's like I never had it anyway.
You earned that back a long time ago, so it's fine. So then let's move into like how we met, because I think how we met is kind of funny.
Like, it's just so like, it's so random.
It is kind of random. So we both traveled the East Coast in June.
Yeah.
The East Coast,
Yeah.
the East Coast in June, and I traveled the East Coast by myself, and my plan was to do like two and a bit weeks, and then I had to fly back down to Sydney because I had that ski trip booked. And then I feel like when you're traveling the East Coast in Australia, you just like see the same people all the time.
Right.
So I feel like I had seen you somewhere else before.
It probably,
But I don't remember like where I saw you. And then it wasn't like we got on the bus. So we got a ferry to Magnetic Island, got on the bus to get to the hostel from the ferry, and you were like right in front of us. Like you were right there. And I remember you because all your tattoos. So for anyone watching, Kacey has some really cool tattoos. If you are not watching on YouTube, then how would you describe your tattoos, Kacey?
I forgot it's not just a video here. I basically just have one long squiggly line that wraps around my right leg, and then the same line wraps around my left arm. And so it's like a very flowy thing. And then I have two jellyfish on my other leg.
Yeah, like
I would say those are my most prominent.
Yeah, I think because it's like a full body tattoo, it's just like something you would never really see. And anyway, I just remember like seeing your tattoos, and you were right in front of us, and there was like a whole group of us that were on this bus, and we were all getting off, and I was like, oh my God, this poor girl was going to think they were so fucking obnoxious and like loud and annoying, because like there were so many of us together. And we like all had big massive backpacks and shit. And then we got off the bus to go to the hostel to check in. And then I realized you got off too, and you were like behind us all. And I was like, oh shit, she's staying here. Like she's definitely going to hate us. And then when we were checking in, he ended up just like checking us all in at once and giving us all the same speech because it was like easier. And then didn't really talk to you for like
I didn't.
Another couple of days.
Yeah.
Because we were like, I was in a different friend group in Magnetic, but you had known like some of my friend group too.
I knew, so basically the first half of the East Coast, I traveled with my two friends from the US. And then so they left me in Airlie Beach to go back home. And so then from that leg on, I was traveling by myself.
Okay.
So I got to, and I had met Katie in, Airlie Beach. We met on the Whit Sundays tour. And so Katie was my only tie to like anyone that I knew. And so basically she had gone to Magnetic Island a day early, and I texted her and I was like, hey, I just got here kind of thing. And like she knew a ton of people from her Fraser Island tour. And then those people, I don't know, were you on Katie's Fraser Island tour?
No.
Okay, but you guys knew some of the same people.
Yeah, we knew a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
Because I think she was on the same trip as them, and I was on there with Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what. And so the first night, one of the nights she just said, oh, we're just down, like hanging out, like come down from your room or whatever. And so then I just came down, and then like I just started to like talk to people and meet people, and then hang out with everyone, and then everyone kind of was going to Cairns at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was just such a big group that like we still didn't like I actually have no vivid memory of you like in the area. Like I'm like, I can't even like, I don't,
I just remember you because your tattoos, and then you looked really Scandinavian. Like I was like, oh, you're not, like I would never guess you're American because your hair is bleach blonde.
Yeah.
And it's naturally bleach blonde, and like you blue eyes and stuff, and you look like a Scandinavian person.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I saw you around in Cairns, and then we ended up randomly going on a day trip to
Palm Cove?
Palm Cove, yeah. Because I had messaged like some of my friends and was like, I want to go up here today. I don't want to join. And then they were like, yeah. And then someone had said like, oh, can these girls come, whatever. And I was like, yeah, like it's open to everyone. And then we all ended up going. Yeah. And then you saw my tripod and you're like, oh, what's that? Is
Yeah.
that tripod? And you're like, and then we kind of like just started talking from there. But
Right.
again, like still weren't like,
Still not much.
not much,
Like,
because I had left like the next day.
yeah.
And then we made a group chat for like everyone come back to Sydney, and then we came back to Sydney, and it wasn't until we were in Sydney that like we actually like kind of started mingling a little bit.
Right.
But even still, like you were in the group chat, but you still like there wasn't much.
Yeah, it was more of like you talked to Katie, because you talked to Katie a lot on Palm Cove.
Yeah, because I figured out that I had like met her through like a travel group.
Yeah. And so, and I remember like with the first days we went to the rugby game and we came back to Sydney, or not the rugby, was it a rugby game?
Yeah, I didn't go to that because
But then we met you at that the bar after.
Oh yeah.
So I remember that, and then that was our
forgot about
first
that.
our meet, like it wasn't really a meetup, but it was just like we chatted then.
Yeah.
And then I know I reached out to you about a photography job because Anthony had told me to reach out to you because you were doing something with that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, not much. Like I was lucky and got this on a ski trip, like kind of thing. And then
what really ignited our friendship was a Barbie movie that came out.
oh my god.
And I was feeling, let's just say, a little bit in the dumps. And I was like, I really want to go see the Barbie movie, but I did not want to go with the boys. And I was like, I just did girly day. And then you were feeling a bit sad because Katie had just left.
Yeah.
So I was like, do you want to come? And then that just kind of kicked off our friendship.
Yeah. So we basically just sat in the Barbie movie and ate our snacks and cried a bit.
And then we realized we actually have a lot in common, and
Yeah.
we're very similar in a lot of ways, I feel.
And then the first couple of weeks of like we sent like voice notes back and forth like constantly.
Did we?
Yeah, it was like we were just like constantly
yeah.
chatting all the time. But
Yeah, that's kind of how we made friends. So
Yeah.
just because you meet someone, I feel like sometimes you might not hit it off straight away, and like don't let that like deter you from like making friends either. Because it like took a little while to actually.
Yeah.
But then I felt like as well, like you were really close with Katie, and you had like her, like she was like your travel group. Like everyone knew like the two of you as being like thick as thieves, like tied at the hip kind of a situation. So I was like, I don't want to like step into that. So I guess I kind of took a back like seat there. But yeah, if you meet someone on traveling or when you're traveling, I think like to the audience, you know, if you see them around a few times, just fucking go up to them and say hi. Like,
Yeah, just do it because they probably have more in common with
than
them
you,
than you
think.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, what if like we become friends sooner on that trip? Like who knows what would
Probably would have some really good content.
Probably, yeah. I would have had some actual photos of myself from that trip.
Me freaking too. Because all I have is really bad ones that Katie took of me on her phone, and I'm like, these are great.
No offense to Katie for
No, we love Katie. We miss her. But
yeah, then that's how we met, I guess.
yeah, the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
Just the Barbie movie.
So you know, if you ever want to become friends with a girl, just invite her to the
Barbie movie.
So Kacey is also quite a creative, and she like I call Kacey an actual photographer because she studied it. You are though, like she's so talented. If you're listening, like please go check herself out. I'll leave like a link on where you can find her somewhere in the description of this podcast. But she's so good.
Thank you, Jess. But yeah, I guess I did study. So I have a degree in graphic design and photography, but you know, I kind of lost it a little bit when I started traveling originally because I was very much more into like editorial fashion style, and so when I started traveling, I just like never brought my camera out and stuff, and so which I really regret because I saw so many beautiful things and so many beautiful places, but like my camera's so freaking heavy that like it was really hard for me to like bring it out and stuff. But then when I met Jess, you know, like being around another fellow creative and stuff, like it's just so much easier to like do your craft and everything when you meet someone and you find a community like that.
Yeah.
Because before I was like, I don't know, people don't want their picture taken.
Yeah.
Like, it's really annoying.
Yeah, it's definitely like, even for me, even though my camera isn't big, and which is purposely why I bought the camera, like I purposely bought a smaller camera knowing that I would take it out more frequently and I'd bring it with me more. Because when I was like researching cameras, like the number one thing people said, if you want a camera for travel, like don't have it be this big intimidating thing.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to want to take it out. And I know obviously your situation was different because like you came from
something different.
Yeah, like you weren't doing photography because of travel, you were doing it like as your degree, and like you said, you came from an editorial fashion background. So obviously it's going to be different. But it is like, I have found that a struggle when I'm traveling. Like as much as I want to take like beautiful photos, I've always like, I was definitely better in Europe when I was traveling, like because I would have like full days to myself. I would just set up the camera and try to take some photos. But that was like the first time I ever did that.
Yeah.
So I'm still really awkward in those photos. Like I stand with my back to a lot of them. Like, you know, I was afraid to actually pose in front of a camera.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not any better now, but anyway. But then traveling the East...
No, she lies. She lies.
But then traveling the East Coast, it was just go, go, go all the time. So I like felt like I didn't even take my camera out much.
Yeah.
And like, there's so many stunning places in Australia that I definitely want to go back and, you know, get pictures there. But it is hard when you're not around people who like don't understand your vision or don't understand like why you're taking camera out in the first place.
Right.
Or like if they don't have that like fun energy. Because some people love being in front of a camera. Yeah. And like you'll take a camera out and they'll instantly like start pulling faces, or they'll start
doing
like
something.
Doing something, yeah. And then others like don't want to be on it at all. And sometimes you don't know where you're like at with like people until you kind of get to know them more.
Yeah.
So I definitely
struggle.
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle. But I definitely think like now that I've met, because I tell everyone, like when I talk about Kacey, I'm like, Kacey's a friend I've like wanted for so long because I want to travel and take photos with people who are on the same wavelength, because it just like
so
it just
easier.
adds an element of fun, and then it takes you away from like the typical backpacker like drinking and going out and like just wasting your time. It like, kind of makes you or forces you to go and find these really nice places and to document your time there.
Right.
And just like create memories in a way that you wouldn't have if you didn't, if that makes any sense.
No, it totally does, because I do feel like, you know, going up the East Coast, it was a lot of like, let's go out and party and drink and whatnot, which is fun.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I had a great time.
Yeah. And there's a time and place when you need that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, because I'm then struggling with that now. Like now, like I have you as in like my creative like person, but like I have my work friends that are more like, let's go out and party and drink. And like, yes, again, that's fun, but I need prime time to do that, like creative stuff and like, you know, go out and take pictures. And so that's why when I just got back from Thailand, actually, I was a lot better at taking pictures there. I brought my camera everywhere and I took pictures of people. Yeah. And it was like a lot, I don't know, it was really cool and it was better. And I realized that I'm better at taking pictures of people that I have a connection with and that they are my like friend, or even like, I guess I can do strangers sometimes, but like, I don't know. I don't know like how to explain it. Yeah. I feel like you never really know either how a stranger is going to react. Yeah. I mean, obviously you can go up to them and be like, oh, can I take your picture? But I feel like that's so much easier for guys to do. Like, do you ever see those TikToks or videos of people and they're like, hey, I just thought you were a really interesting person and like, can I take your photos? Yeah. I feel like those are staged. That gotta be freaking staged. I mean, some of them definitely are. But I just feel like sometimes it's easier for a guy, and I could be completely wrong here, and if I am, like, call me out on it, but I do think like as a female sometimes you're a little bit like intimidated to approach people in that way. Yeah, I think so. And I think I'm just scared to shove a camera in someone's face. Same. I'm like I don't want to do it if they're not. Yeah. But like I've gotten some good shots, you know, here and there, but yeah, it's difficult. It's a hard barrier to like cross. Yeah. But yeah, I just have to get better at doing that. I have some questions I'm going to ask you. Lit. Can you share a story about a stranger you met while traveling who ended up becoming a good friend or having a significant impact on your life? Ooh. I feel like I have a few. I mean, we talked a little bit about Katie already. Yeah. Do you want to speak about her? We already spoke about her. She's great. Love her. You're gonna love Katie. Listening, Katie. Love you. Come back. Okay. No, I'll talk about my friend Nadia. Okay. So basically, when I first got to Melbourne back in February, I stayed in a hostel for 3 months, which was terrible. It was brutal. Actually, no, it was fine. But it was just a really busy hostel, and like I like my own space, you know. And there was this one girl who at first I was like, she is so freaking annoying. Like So if you're listening, Nadia, at first, but like, I didn't think she was annoying, but I was like, she's too extroverted for me. Like, I cannot, like, she was so nice, like, so happy and like all like happy-go-lucky, like, oh my God. But like, she was just a lot. And I don't know if it was because I was like in the hostel for so long that I was like, it was a lot of people. And so like, I felt suffocated whenever we talked. But anyway, so we become like friends. We went to the circus together.
The circus?
To the circus because I was like, I really want to go to a circus. And there was a circus in Melbourne. And I was like, no one else is going to want to go to a circus. But you know who would want to go to the circus? Nadia would go to the circus. Because she's so nuts. Like, she's like so out there. She's so great. Like, she's the weirdest, coolest like human. Like one of the, weirdest, coolest humans I've ever really met. And so I was like, she will go to the circus with me. And so I, so basically I asked her to go to the circus. She was like, hell yeah, I'll go to the circus with you. So I went to the circus, so we were pretty good friends there, and then we just like chatted. We'd see each other in like the kitchen all the time and whatnot. And so then I left because I went home for a month back in April for a photography event that I had, and then she left to go travel Europe. And she's from Australia, so she lives on the Sunshine Coast. So basically, she traveled to Europe all summer, and I'm really bad. Like, I wasn't that close with her when I left, but like, I'm really bad at like keeping up with people, like when I leave and when I know like I probably won't see them again. Like, so I basically, but for some reason we were texting all summer long, like, or Australia's winter, but like June through
like Northern Hemisphere summer, Southern Hemisphere winter.
So like European summer.
Okay. Yeah.
So we were texting like all like on Instagram, like all summer long. Like it was like, we weren't like every day, but it was always like, it was never like, there was never a message left read. It was always like someone responded to it.
Okay.
Eventually, you know, within 2 or 3 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we're still talking, and she got back to Australia, and now we're actually meeting up. She's coming to stay with me for a week.
Oh, fun.
And end of November to December.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wow. It's just like crazy because I'm like, one, I don't know how I had the stamina to like keep texting someone because I don't text people.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
And I think that's something like I'll probably talk about maybe in another episode, is like how you stay friends with people you've met while traveling. But yeah.
So yeah, I just think, and I think it's cool because at first, like I remember being like, whoa, this girl, like I cannot. And now I'm like, oh my God, please come visit me, stay with me, like let's hang out. Like, I'm so excited to see you, kind of thing. Yeah. So I think that's like super cool. And I'm just proud of myself for like actually staying in touch with someone. Yeah. Because she's really the only one I've stayed in touch with out of all of my travels. I mean, and Katie. Yeah. Her and Katie are the only two.
Are you so obviously when you're traveling, like, you know, you meet males and females, and, you know, every now and again there's like someone that kind of comes along, catches your eye, and, you know, so basically what I'm trying to ask, have you ever had like a date or like a situation with like a romantic situation with someone while traveling? This is like juicy tea.
Juicy tea. I mean, yeah.
I mean, you don't have to name any names, but I'm saying, like, have you like dated while traveling? Have you, like, you know, have you ever had like some sort of relationship while traveling, or have you ever had like a situation that, I don't know, felt like not intense, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, you like hear these stories about how people met when they're traveling, and things. Like, have you had anything like significant?
I would say, unfortunately, like not.
Okay.
I've had hookups. Okay. For sure. Yeah. And I've had like flirty little banters back and forth. But I guess like me personally, I wasn't looking for anything serious. So like when I'm not looking for something serious, I definitely like shut myself off to anything serious. Like, and I don't. I mean, I think myself to feel like.
I think a lot of people who travel probably aren't looking for anything serious. But yeah, I was just curious because obviously, like, I feel like I've just heard a lot of stories recently about like girls and they go to different countries and like they go on dates and stuff. And
I'm like, Yeah, I'm a little jealous of like people like that. Like I want to go on a date. Like give me some free food, you know?
Yeah, and the bravery of it, because like,
Right.
I mean, if like let's say you're going somewhere like Asia and you're on dating apps and like you match with someone or whatever, or and you like go and meet them, it's like you're not only meeting, and if you're solo traveling too, like you're not only meeting a complete stranger, you're meeting a complete stranger in a completely new country.
Yeah, all new to you.
Like everything's new.
Yeah.
And like obviously you might have made friends while you're there, or like you've, I don't know, gotten to know people in the hostel while you're there. But I do feel like, especially moving to Sydney, like I've heard a lot of girls say that they didn't know how to make friends with females, so they would use dating apps in a way to like get out there and like go on dates with guys, and then like try and make friendships out of that, but then it would all fail, and then they'd be here a couple of weeks and they'd be like, oh my god, I've no friends. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're trying to date before you have any solid group of friends. Like that's, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've kind of been there. Like, I mean, I feel like when I was in London, I like, not that I didn't try and make friends with girls, I definitely did, but I definitely think I like went on dates and like use that as a way to like occupy my time a little bit and to see the city. Like, don't underestimate the power of a date to see a face.
Honestly, yeah, it's a good like tourist, like, you know, if you're in the area, new to the area, like someone's from the area, it's a good thing to be like, hey, take me to your favorite spot, and then you can do it to like 8 people, and then boom.
But I don't think it's like, I just don't think it's a way to like make friends.
No, I don't think. Well, I mean, I don't really use dating apps because I go on there and then I do my little swipey swipe, and I'm always swiping the no. Like, I don't know, I just can't get myself to swipe yes. And if I do swipe yes and they text me, I'm like, ick. I don't know.
I'm not even giving you a chance.
I don't know why. I just like cannot. But yeah, I wouldn't say that's a sufficient way to make friends.
So, okay, so no to dating.
No, I mean, if you want to date, I think there's date people and there's not date people.
Yeah.
I'm a not date person.
Okay.
Like, I want to go on dates, but I can never get I think I've been on like 3 dates in my entire life.
Okay.
Like, especially with dating apps, like I don't know what it is. I don't have the capacity or mental capacity to like go on someone with a stranger.
Yeah.
Even though I know it would be fine, because I probably wouldn't shut up the whole time.
Yeah.
Because I talk too much.
Don't talk too much.
But I'm like,
just to yourself.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. But like my friend from back home, best friend, she has a boyfriend now, but she went on like 3 dates a week. And I'm like,
how does anyone have time for that?
Lucky, you know?
So no dating stories from any of your travels?
I've never been on a date
while traveling.
No.
Okay, cool. Have you ever had a travel experience where you felt uncomfortable or unsafe, and how did you handle it?
Oh, this actually just happened to me.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah. I don't think you even know this. I don't even think I told you.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. So it was
backtrack. Yeah, backtrack a second. Kacey was in Thailand a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, for 2 weeks.
Do you want to talk about why you were in Thailand?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think that was a really cool little thing.
It is cool. Okay. So basically back like 2 years ago, I followed this girl on TikTok. Her name's Rin. Rin Rudd, everyone, if you want to follow her or if you know who she is.
I think she's come up in mine a few times, and like her rings and stuff.
Yeah, she does rings and she travels. And when I followed her, she didn't really have a big following. Like she had like more than the average person, but like nowhere near like influencer level at all. But she was from the state next to me, back in the US. And so, there was like all of these weird things that I was like, that we were very similar. And so I was like, I'll give her a follow, and I'll just like, you know, and she was like really into traveling. So I was like, oh, she'll be a good inspiration. Back in like February, she starts getting like pretty big, like got lots of followers now. She's getting like deals with companies and everything. And so she ended up renting out a whole hostel in Thailand, and she rented it out for 2 weeks. And so back in June she released it, and then you had to get on right at like, it was 1 a.m. here in Australia. And so I got on at 1 a.m. and I like booked a room real quick, and within like within like 20 or 25 minutes she was sold out already. So I'm like really lucky that I got the spot. But yeah, so basically I went to this hostel I got back a week ago. It was for 2 weeks, and everyone there knew her and was there like because of her. So it was like,
That's really cool.
yeah, like we weren't traveling together.
Yeah, but
like none of us knew it, but
she brought a bunch of strangers together.
yeah, she brought a bunch of people together that like had no idea, and like a lot of people there, it was like their first time ever out of the country.
Oh wow.
And I was like,
wow.
You sent it all the way to Thailand, your first time out of the country, like go you.
That was brave.
Like you could have just walked across the border to Canada if you wanted. But you sent it to Thailand, good for you, kind of thing. So that was super cool. But yeah, so for me, I traveled there. I flew into Phuket, and this was, I got in at like 10:30 p.m. And so I had to go from the airport to my hostel, and then the next morning I was taking a bus, ferry, and then to this island that I was supposed to be staying at. And so I get in, and this is my first experience in like another country, and I walk up to the taxi stand, and she just kind of looks at me, and then I like hand her my phone, like where I'm supposed to be going, and she's like, she just nods, and then she points at a number, and like I hand her the money, and she's like, wait over there. And I was like, okay. So I'm waiting, and then this guy pulls up in like kind of this like crappy looking car type thing, and I'm like, whatever. He gets out, and the woman says, that's your taxi, or like motions to me, and the guy was like, no, come in. And I was like, okay, like so far so good kind of thing. Get in the car, we're driving, and it's like a 20-minute drive, and he barely really spoke English, and obviously I didn't speak Thai, so it was pretty silent. All of a sudden, he just in the middle of nowhere, like we're going down a country road kind of, or like a jungle road, I guess, not really country. And there's a gas station, and he just pulls in, and I'm like looking around, and I'm like, oh no, like why is he pulling into the gas station? Like there was no warning, there was nothing. And there was just a bunch of men, like it was just all men at this gas station. There was one other car with one guy in it. There was two guys like sitting at the front doors of the gas station. Then there was another guy just like kind of meandering around. And so I instantly, and I had no data on my phone yet because I hadn't bought a SIM card, because I already had 2 SIM cards in my phone. So I had my little portable Wi-Fi thing, but that wasn't charged because I'm an idiot and didn't charge it. So I didn't have anything. And so I'm sitting there like, oh, my phone's almost dead as well. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get kidnapped right here. So he pulls in, he opens the door and just gets out and walks away and leaves the door open. And I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? And so like 2 guys start like walking towards my car, like the car that I'm in. And then they just stand there and start talking. And I, at this point, am literally like, my heart is out of my body.
I can
It's out my
imagine.
ass. Like, I was like, do I run? Like, do I just start running? Like, I don't know what to do at this point. And so yeah, then one of the guys starts pumping gas. I'm like, okay, so we're getting gas, we're good. And the other guy walks away, but my taxi driver's still nowhere to be found. And so I'm like, and then the guy in the car next to me starts staring at me, and I'm like, la-di-da, la-di-da, like just act normal, like you're fine. And so then eventually like the guy leaves pumping the gas, and my taxi driver comes back and hands me a bottle of water and then drives away. And so I was like, thank the Lord. Like I thought I was actually gonna die for a second. I was like, I have been in this country for not even an hour yet,
Oh my God.
and I'm gonna get kidnapped. But no, it was like really good. I mean, it was fine. It was
And
just a scary situation.
And did he take like the direct route there, or do you know?
So I had it like on my phone, but because I didn't have data, like I didn't have like the route that it like would have gone.
Okay.
Like I was just watching my little like dot on the map get closer to
Okay, where you need to be.
where I needed to be.
Okay. And like the bottle of water, did you drink it?
No,
Okay, good.
no, I did not. I was like, it's so sweet of him, but like,
Yeah.
and it's sealed, but also
You don't
like what if that's just a roofie?
Yeah. like what if they've injected something
Like
into
what
it?
if he injected it? So
Oh
I
my
was like,
God.
thank you so much.
You poor thing.
I know, it was so scary.
I'd be so scared.
Yeah.
Well, at least thank God you're okay.
I know.
So,
like-
in future, have your phone charged.
Have your phone charged, have Wi-Fi, or
have you ever heard of like eSIMs or anything?
yeah. So I have
Do you have like the Airlo
I
app?
have my American So I have my American SIM card still in, and then I have an eSIM for Australia.
Okay.
And the last time, like when I left the country and the eSIM, and I disabled the eSIM or like whatever for the Australian one, it messed it up. So when I came back, I didn't have the same number, and I didn't have any of like.
Oh shit.
It was so hard, and it took me like a really long process at Telstra, and I'd go into Telstra every single day, and they would always be busy, and I'd go in at a different time every day. They would always be busy, and I was like, what is going on?
Oh, okay.
So it was a whole process, so I was like, I'm not even gonna deal with it. Like, I'm not gonna touch my SIM cards. But I have this like, so when I traveled Europe back last year, I just used this like portable hotspot thing.
Okay.
That I had like charged, like I had the data on it, but I forgot to charge it. So
have that charge in the future.
we'll have that charge in the future as well.
I think that's kind of something people forget though, because if you're used to traveling to like not even English speaking countries, but countries like they are predominantly going to speak English, or like you can connect to Wi-Fi or something like that. Like the same thing kind of happened to me in Morocco, where I was like, I stepped out at the airport and I was like, oh, like first of all, I had this whole issue where like I know I couldn't get any cash and I couldn't get any money, and you can only get cash when you're in Morocco. Like you can't pre-buy it before you go there. And you also can't take Moroccan cash out of the country. And like I had known
How
this
would they know that?
because they check at the border when you're leaving.
They just check you?
So they ask like, how much money do you have on you? And then they like check your purse or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I don't have it. Like when I was leaving, I didn't have any at the time. So I was like, oh, I don't have anything. And they were like, okay.
Interesting.
So yeah, tip if you're ever going to Morocco. But my Revolut card wouldn't work when I was in the airport, and it wouldn't work on the like the exchange rate desk thingies.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, what am I gonna do? So then I had to I had bought a SIM card because I knew the second I got there, I was like, right, I'm buying a SIM card, like I'm by myself, and there was like one's just at the airport for free because my friend was there a couple weeks ago and he told me like just buy one when you're there.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, will do. And it was like, I don't know, I think €10 or something. And then I didn't have the money to pay them because I didn't have any cash, and I didn't have, like they couldn't take card. So then I went to the exchange rate desk, couldn't get the cash out, and then I had to like go through like a security thing, and then they were like, there's an ATM around the other side, and I was like, okay. I felt like I was like, oh my God, they're gonna think that I'm like stealing from them, like just stealing the SIM card from them. But I had to go around, and there was an ATM, and then the first ATM like wouldn't work at all, and I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And then the second ATM worked eventually, and I got cash out, and like I gave it to her, and it was fine in the end. But like I learned from that, always travel with more than one card in you, because I did have my Irish like bank card, but it was expired. It had just expired, so I was still waiting on my new one. So yeah, I've learned to always travel with like at least two bank cards. Well, you know, two at a minimum.
Right.
Even though I didn't do that, just going to Dubai, but that's another story. And yeah, basically always try to have some form of cash. But anyway, I came out of the airport, and because I only took out the money that they needed from the SIM card, I didn't really have anything else. But I knew like my like transport to my like surf retreat or whatever was pre-booked. So I knew I just had to go out and look for the guy that was driving me to my like surf, the like hotel. So I came out, and there was like these bunch of guys standing there, and one of them came over to me, and he was like, where are you going, where are you going? And I was like, oh, Surf Morocco. And then like, you know, told him, and like he was like, oh, and he like brought me over to this one guy, and I was like, no, like that's not the right place. And then I like showed him the name, and then eventually like I saw the person, like they were a little bit further away, but I saw the person with the sign, and I was like, no, it's this one. And then he like grabbed my bags and brought them over to like the car with him, and I was like, oh, that was nice, whatever. Me being so naive to this as well, by the way, like looking back, I'm like, I'm an idiot. But anyway, he brought my bags over, and then of course once he brought my bags, he wanted cash because like he had helped me out. So I was like, oh fuck. I was like, literally the only money I had on me, because I never had cash on me in London, the only money I had on me was €4. And I was like, this is all I have, like I'm so sorry. And then he was like so pissed off that I had to give it to him. So I was just like, okay, whenever I come out of an airport again, like you don't go to the people that come up to you to help you, or like never. Always have some form of transport pre-booked from an airport, or always go like, you know, research and like look at what apps or like what like drivers or whatever to book beforehand. Always have cash on you coming out of an airport, and always have more than one card. And then always have some sort of a SIM or like an eSIM. Yeah. Well, now like I have this eSIM, like an app. and I just like buy and eat some. And
Is it Arlo?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
Arlo's.
it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like, it's not like, I wouldn't say it's the best value for money, but in terms of like just being safe for that, like
having
those
it.
couple hours until you get a physical sim or like a local sim or whatever, it is fine.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like I can relate to you in that experience.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh my God, I'm gonna get kidnapped. And I'm like, what's going
Yeah.
on?
Honestly, yeah, it's scary.
And being a female, like that's just what runs through your head naturally, which I mean,
I wish it didn't.
I wish
like,
it didn't.
just does.
Yeah, but it is just kind of something that I guess comes with travel.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for someone who wants to start traveling and making connections with strangers?
Honestly, like I would just say my biggest advice, because when I first started traveling, like I feel like I'm a very extroverted person, but when I first started traveling, I was very intimidated. Like I was very intimidated to just like walk up to people and like ask them questions and stuff. And it took me a long time, and it's not something it's not a natural thing, so it's gonna be hard at first. But like I definitely think just like really pushing through that like uncomfortability and like walking up to someone and being like, oh, is anyone sitting here? Or like, can I join you? Like there's been countless times I'm at a hostel and I'm like, you know, working my social anxiety is hidden, but I'm like working myself up. I'm like, you got this, you got this.
Yeah.
And there's just like a group of like people, and I'll just walk up and be like, is anyone sitting down? Or like, can I join you? And I've never been told no.
Yeah.
Like people are always so nice, and half the time that group of people is also all single people that came and just met like probably like an hour ago. So I guess biggest advice is just like I don't know advice wise, but like just being like okay with being uncomfortable for a while and not beating yourself up over it. Like, because I know when I first started, I was like, why I'm an extrovert, like I shouldn't have trouble like talking to people and whatnot. But you know, it gets better as you like travel and meet more people.
Yeah, I think the more you do it, and like I think as well, it doesn't matter how many times you've done it. I think the first time on a trip, like if you haven't tried, like if you like for me now, I know if I go on a solo trip, that first day, like that first like a couple hours, and you're just like freaking out because you're like, oh my God, I have to do this all over again. Like I have to try and make conversation. Like there's loads of people here I don't know. Like it's always going to be scary that first time, but I think the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yes, I totally agree. Like it's never not going to be scary.
Yeah.
You know, because like people are intimidating. It's just how it is. Like, you know, like
yeah.
Especially when they're in groups and you're single.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to always be difficult. But it's not as scary. Like every time that I've done it, it's worked out for me.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
So like there's never been a bad time.
Yeah. So just take that like 5 seconds of uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
And break through it, and you'll be fine.
Do it.
And then you can have a friend for life.
Boom. Exactly. Like Jess.
Like Kacey. Anyway, I think that is all for today. I definitely think I'll have you on again.
Am I a good podcaster?
No, I'll definitely have you back, and I think there's so much more that we can go into detail and talk about, but I think we'll leave it there for today.
I could talk anyone's ear off, honestly.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thanks for having me 10 minutes ago. We decided.
So yeah, thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you liked it and you want to hear more, then drop us a follow on wherever you're listening to this podcast. Leave a review, leave what you thought of it. You can find us at Strangers No More on Instagram and on YouTube if you're listening on Spotify, or on Spotify if you're listening on YouTube. And again, I'm Jess.
I'm Kacey.
This is Kacey. Do you want to actually, where can people find you on socials? Or if there's any potential people looking for content, where can
you guys want photos taken?
She is an amazing photographer. Where can they find you?
At Instagram, my photography Instagram is Kacey, Kacey, and then an extra Y, photography. That's my Instagram. And my website is just kaceymortensen.com. And that's it.
And I'll link them all below anyway. But thank you again so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was
You're welcome.